In 1936, one afternoon in the slums of Washington, D.C., there was a man named Joe who was getting ready to go to college. Joe is a poor student who lives alone and resides in an old car. Despite being in dire straits, he strives hard to take on odd jobs so he can attend college. One day on campus, Joe was reprimanded by the administrative officer for being behind on his tuition fees. If he still hasn't paid by next week, he will be forced to be expelled from campus. In order to continue studying, Joe and his friend tried to find job openings on the campus bulletin board. Unfortunately, there isn't a single job that fits. The next day, while Joe was at the library, a beautiful girl from his class named Joyce approached him and asked if Joe still remembered her. It turns out, Joyce was Joe's elementary school friend. While they were happily reminiscing about the past, Joe's friend arrived. Joyce left, and Joe's friend told him about a way to pay for tuition, which was to join the campus rowing team. In the afternoon at the registration place, it turned out that many other students also wanted to register. Not long after, 3 rowing coaches arrived. One of the coaches, named Brixon, explained that later their physical abilities would be tested to the limit, and only a few would be accepted into the junior rowing team. After everyone changed clothes, the physical test began. The prospective junior rowing team members must perform various physical exercises, such as push-ups, sit-ups, running, and cutting trees with a saw. They are also directly tested on how to row correctly and the importance of teamwork in this sport. This test is designed to assess strength, speed, endurance, and teamwork. Joe and his friends took the test seriously, trying to show their best abilities. After finishing, they took a break. The next day, the coach announced who passed. It turns out Joe and his friends' names were selected. That evening, the 8 new junior rowers gathered and got to know each other. When everyone was busy, Joe quietly went to Joyce's dormitory and invited Joyce to go boating. Joe said that he successfully joined the rowing team. Because now he has become an athlete, his life is automatically secured, starting from meals every 3 days, dormitory rooms, and tuition fees being waived until graduation. Hearing the good news, Joyce was also happy. The next morning, the junior rowing team began their practice. Brixon and 2 other coaches led the practice, providing instructions and guidance to the team members. The junior rowing team began practicing rowing on the water, with Brixon giving instructions on the correct technique and rhythm. Joe and his friends worked hard to follow Brixon's instructions, performing synchronized and strong rowing movements. They practiced diligently, striving to improve their skills and strength. That evening, after practice, when he was about to go home, Joe casually entered the boat-making room. While he was focused on looking around, the boatmaker named George came in. When he saw Joe was interested in the boat, George said that Joe could come here anytime he wanted. Joe was happy, and as a thank you, he immediately helped George clean up. For months, Joe thoroughly enjoyed his new life. In the morning, he studied with Joyce. In the afternoon, he practiced with the rowing team. And in the evening, Joe helped George build a boat. One afternoon in the office, a campus official asked Brixon about next week's match. Brixon replied that he planned to field the junior team first because the senior team needed to rest for a more important match, which was the inter-university rowing competition in New York City 2 months later. If the senior team wins in New York, they can represent America at the Olympics in Berlin, Germany. That night, Brixon and his colleague named Tom looked troubled as they tried to devise a strategy for the junior rowing team, which was still disorganized. Physically, the junior team is indeed ready to compete, but their technique is still very messy. George, who was also there, advised Brixon and Tom that the key to taming a wild horse is not the technique, but the rider. Instead of constantly changing strategies, it's better to find a captain who can firmly lead the team. Hearing his grandfather's words, Brixon followed them. The next morning, Brixon called the captain of the senior team named Bobby. With Bobby's firm yet relaxed personality, Brixon was confident he could become the captain of the junior team. The next day, Bobby started leading the junior team in practice. Throughout the practice, whenever a team member makes even the slightest mistake, Bobby will definitely start over from the beginning. Basically, this practice won't be over until everyone is in sync. The team resigned themselves. The next night, while helping George paint the boat, Joe opened up about his life. 18 years ago, after his biological mother passed away, his father remarried. Every time his father went to work, Joe's stepmother always tortured him because he couldn't take it anymore. At the age of 15, Joe decided to run away from home and live in an old car. Hearing Joe's story, George was concerned. For days, the junior team kept practicing until the day of the match arrived. In that match, Joe's junior team from the University of Washington will face their arch rivals, the team from the University of California, who have won for 2 consecutive years. Before the match, Bobby encouraged, "Come on, let's prove the results of our hard training." After everything was ready, the match began. Joe's junior team from the University of Washington and the team from the University of California faced off on the rowing field, with thousands of spectators watching the match. The match started intensely, with both teams competing in speed and strength. Bobby kept giving instructions. Joe and his friends performed synchronized and powerful rowing movements, trying to take the lead in the match. However, the team from the University of California also did not want to lose. They performed quick and strong rowing strokes, trying to maintain their lead. Bobby kept cheering and continuously giving instructions to go faster. The match was intense, with both teams battling it out until the finish line. In the end, Joe's junior team from the University of Washington managed to take the lead and cross the finish line first, winning the match. 1 month passed and the junior team continued to train as usual. One night, Brixon, Tom, and George gathered to discuss the inter-university rowing competition. Seeing the junior team's victory last month, Tom thought about sending the junior team to represent the campus. Unfortunately, Brixon can't because he has already promised the campus authorities that the senior team will be the one to compete. Hearing that Brixon made a decision on his own without any discussion first, Tom was disappointed. When Tom left, George recounted that he was impressed by Brixon's spirit when he was still a member of the Washington rowing team. Since Brixon graduated from college and the team disbanded, that spirit was lost. After years, he can finally see that spirit again in all the junior players. George advised Brixon to reconsider who was more deserving to represent the campus. The next morning, in front of everyone, Brixon announced that the team representing the campus in the inter-university rowing competition in New York would be the junior team. Instantly, everyone was shocked. After the announcement, the officials protested because Brixon violated the agreement. Don't even think about it. This match is very important for the reputation of the University of Washington. Because we haven't won in 20 years. The senior team is more mature. Why is it the junior team instead? Casually, Brixon replied, "Here, he is the one who has the right to decide." The executive was annoyed and threatened that if Washington lost the match, Brixon would be fired. In the afternoon, while Joe and Joyce were on a date at a restaurant, Joe suddenly saw his father outside. When approached, it turned out that all this time, his father knew where Joe lived and always knew how he was doing and everything about his son. Joe asked if he knew, then why he never came to visit him. Dad simply replied that now Joe is grown up and can determine his own path in life. If you want to come home, Dad will always welcome you. But if you still want to stay here, Dad won't force you. Seeing his father seemingly indifferent, Joe fell silent in disappointment. 1 week later in New York, due to many thoughts during practice, Joe kept making mistakes. He felt disturbed by thoughts of his father and his decision not to return home. Joe also feels the pressure to win the upcoming rowing match. During practice, Joe made unusual mistakes, such as paddling incorrectly or losing rhythm. Brixon and the other coaches noticed Joe's mistakes and were worried that he wasn't ready for the match. One afternoon after practice, Brixon scolded Joe, who had not been focused lately, even though they had a match tomorrow. Seeing Joe's indifferent response, Brixon got annoyed and immediately ordered him to go back to Washington. In the evening, while Joe was packing his things, George came and asked him to join him for a bit. In the boat room, George said that he had been making boats for decades and knew which boats were good. If you think good is judged by expensive wood, you're wrong. What's the use of expensive wood if the boat is just left on land? The best boat is the one that can sail quickly on the water because it is rowed by enthusiastic rowers. On land, we can be sad, confused, or downcast. But on the boat, we must be enthusiastic because only with enthusiasm can we win. George's words just slapped Joe. Tomorrow morning before the match, Joe met Brixon. He recounted all his problems and life story and pleaded for a chance. "Let me back into the team. I promise I will do my best to help the junior team win." Seeing Joe's sincerity, Brixon was touched and gave him a chance. With a relieved heart, Joe rejoined the team and was ready to face the match. He felt that he had a second chance to prove himself and show his best abilities. Joe joined his team and they were all ready to face the match that would determine their future. With strong spirit and determination, they were all ready to give their best and win the match. The match began, and the Washington junior team, led by Bobby, immediately showcased their skills. They sailed quickly and nimbly, their paddles moving in sync and with strength. Joe, who had been given a second chance by Brixon, showed his best abilities. He focused on his rowing technique and he could feel the adrenaline coursing through his body. The opposing team, the rowing team from another university, also doesn't want to lose. They sailed quickly and powerfully. The match was intense, with both teams competing in speed and strength. However, the Washington junior team did not give up. They kept fighting and gave their best. Bobby, as the team captain, gave instructions and motivation to his team. "Keep fighting, we can do it, don't give up, we have to win." The junior Washington team kept fighting, and eventually they managed to take the lead in the match. They sailed quickly and agilely, and they succeeded in reaching the finish line first and winning the match. In the stands, Brixon was very proud that after 20 years of always losing, his team finally managed to win the championship. Thanks to this victory, the junior Washington team officially became the American representative at the Olympics to be held in Berlin, Germany. That night, while everyone was celebrating their victory, a messenger came to inform them that during this time of economic crisis, the government did not have the budget to send the rowing team to Germany. If Brixen wants his team to still participate in the Olympics, they have to register themselves with a fee of $5,000. There is only 1 week left to register. Hearing the news, Brixen was shocked. The next morning, Brixen, the rowing team, and the campus officials immediately held a discussion. However, when calculating all the budget the campus had, it turned out that the funds collected were only half of it. Brixen then got an idea. The next day, he went on the radio and talked about his team's problems and asked for support from the American public. After that radio broadcast, it didn't take long for many people to come and donate. Among the donors, it turns out that Joe's father is also there. Even though he seems indifferent secretly, Dad always supports his son. After days of struggling to raise money that night, exactly 1 day before departure, Brixen and his friends counted all the donations that had come in. Unfortunately, it was still short by $300. At the moment when everyone was desperate, suddenly the coach of the California team came and handed over a check for $300. Brixen was teary-eyed. He didn't expect the coach, whom he had always considered a bitter enemy, to help his team. Before leaving, the California coach said, "Depart with pride and bring honor to our country in the eyes of the world." The next day, the Washington team arrived in the city of Berlin, Germany. At the Olympic opening ceremony, they met the fastest Black American runner named Jesse Owens. As fellow representatives of their country, they encouraged each other, showed Germany the greatness of Americans. Jesse also said that he would not only show the greatness of Black people to Germany, but to the world as well. The next day, the first rowing event of the Olympics began. The Olympic rowing events took place on a beautiful lake in Berlin, Germany. The weather was clear and the sun was shining, making the atmosphere of the match more vibrant. Joe, who has become an important part of the team, focused on his rowing motion. He could feel the adrenaline flowing through his body, and he was ready to give his best. With their spirit, they kept trying, and in the end, the American team won. During the match, one of the paddlers from his team collapsed. After being taken to the doctor informed that he was sick and needed complete rest. Unfortunately, 3 days passed, and in the final match, his condition worsened. Because they didn't have any substitute players at all, Brixen was forced to ask him to continue playing. Before starting, Brixen encouraged his team, "Please row as fast as you can. So far, I believe you all can do it." While the rowers were getting ready, it was seen that Hitler was also present to watch. A few minutes later, the Olympic rowing finals began. The American team immediately showcased their skills. They sailed quickly and agilely, their paddles moving in sync and powerfully. The match was intense, with several other teams also showcasing outstanding abilities. The German team, represented by a strong rowing team, is trying to outdo the American team. There, the match is getting more intense. The spectators are shouting and cheering for their favorite team. However, the American team is far behind. Bobby, seeing the rowers getting weaker, tried to encourage them. "Remember all our struggles to get to this point. We have trained hard, we have sacrificed a lot, and we have come this far. Don't give up. We can still turn the situation around." Slowly, the team's spirit began to rise. The American rowers looked at Bobby with strong determination, ready to give their best. They began to row harder and more agilely, trying to catch up. The American team's spirit was burning brighter. They began to catch up. The German team, which had previously been leading, began to feel the pressure. They tried to maintain their position, but the American team did not give up. The match is becoming increasingly intense, with all teams striving to reach the finish line first. The atmosphere of the match became increasingly intense, with the audience shouting and cheering for their favorite teams. The American team continued to fight, and they tried to turn the situation around. The American team eventually managed to catch up and finished strong. However, because their positions were almost parallel, to determine the winner, the judges examined the photo taken just before the finish. When the photo was printed, the judges announced that the American team had won. All the people in America who heard the radio broadcast, including Father and Joyce, cheered joyfully. From a distance, Tom and Brixen looked very proud. With emotion, Brixen said that those young people were the greatest rowing team he had ever seen in his life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Amri Film channel so you don't miss the next movie recaps.